Hello everyone, welcome back to Cryptic Woodworks. I know it's been a little while since my last post. It's just been a series of both day job and personal things happening were slowing me down the wood shop, but finally getting moving again. And I thought a great post would be to talk about some equipment that came in during this kind of brief time off from posting. And this is Next Wave's CNC Shark. This is the HD3. I got this just before the HD4 had come out. I have it with all of the basics. You do have to pick up the dust boot for it. You'll have to supply your own router. And you can also get the touch probe for it, which is just used for setting your bit zero height. But that touch probe is definitely worth it. It's a great thing to get. What I've been doing in the meantime, since I haven't been doing a lot of puzzle box work, is actually getting the machine set up and building some of the other pieces that I want for it. I don't intend to do a huge review of the machine. I know there's a ton of stuff out there already. I will just say it went together pretty easily. It comes as essentially 3 pieces. So it was the bed, the gantry system, and then the router carriage. The only main problems I had are that the tolerances for these bolts are really close. I mean, like, unbelievably close. And you end up actually having to, like, thread some of them through to get them in. And then putting the router in, it seemed like no matter how much I loosened it, you couldn't just push the router in and twist it. I actually had to, like, put a board on top and tap the router down in place. So it's just one of those things where certainly not a showstopper, but just a point that people might notice and have a little bit of trouble with, but it wasn't too hard to do. The only other kind of things I found out when I was putting it together are these holes on the dust boot, and make sure that's in the frame there. These guys I had to come in and ream out a little bit. This wasn't quite fitting up underneath the router, and this hole in this one were very slightly undersized for a standard 2.5 inch fitting. So it just might be one of those things to be aware of. With this machine, you do have to have a computer hooked to it. It doesn't have a separate pendant and control system, so you're actually running the control software right off the computer. But again, that's no problem at all. The only other thing I see is occasionally the control software doesn't think that the CNC is connected to it via the USB cable, but I suspect that might have something to do with it could be Windows 10 or my laptop and whether or not it's a powered USB port. But occasionally I just have to toggle the unit off and on a few times and then it picks it up. So again, not the end of the world. But otherwise the machine went together pretty much perfectly. It cut fine right out of the box. I had no trouble with it. I did come and I built this separate waste bed for it, or sacrifice board. And I went and added a few other features like my own hold down tracks to it, as well as I came and I did a leveling path on here. So I brought it in to be nice and level with the actual carriage of the machine. And I've just spent the afternoon making a whole lot of hold downs. So as you can see, I got a couple with knobs in them already. These are essentially just nice little rectangular pieces, slot through the center, and then a little bit of a lip on the edges. I actually was watching a lot of videos. There's another YouTube site called CNC Nuts, Peter's site. A lot of great stuff on using CNCs, and I've learned a lot from him. I can link over to that if you're looking for more information. He has a ton of great videos and really helped me get moving by watching his stuff. So next I plan to make some more knobs to go on these. I don't feel like having to buy all my knobs, and one of the things about having a CNC is you start making all of your own stuff. So these were all knobs that I had already, so I'm just using them, but they're going to be pretty easy to make. You can just cut your own star pattern, bore out the center, and then just drop a T-nut insert in there, and you've got a knob, and then you just pick up some of these T-bolts, which you can buy at most hardware stores, and you're good to go. You might just find that you sometimes need to cut the T-bolts a little bit if they're sticking up too high. So what do I plan on doing with CNC? Well, the sky's really the limit with these. I think first off, I just have to get working more and actually building things. But one of my first main things is probably going to be doing a lot of carving. and that'll be used for putting the lettering and symbols and other clues and things that I'll be using on my puzzle boxes. So I'll likely be carving up the sides of the boxes, the tops. I'll also be using it for making a lot of puzzle components, sliders, locks, and other pieces where I've struggled a bit with perfect alignment and machining when I'm doing it by hand. Even with the other tools, I can get pretty close, but then sometimes things don't quite line up. The great thing with CNC is once I've built the program on the computer, I can just run it over and over and over and over again and make as many as I want. It should start really speeding me up a bit. Some of the other pieces, I'd love to get into gearing and other mechanical systems. And the CNCs are really good at that because, I've cut gears by hand, but boy, is that a pain. You just tons of sanding, tons of fitting. They never seem to go together as easily as I've seen some other people make them. But with a CNC, you can certainly cut all the gears that you want. Gosh, you can take these bits down to, a 1/16 of an inch. You can get a pretty small tooth profile for doing very small work on those bits. I may at some point in time upgrade to the laser attachment that goes on this. That's just about another $800 attachment, so I didn't spring for it right when I did this. But that'll be nice because I can do even finer detailed lettering and drawing on boards, and that laser can get down to extremely fine levels of detail. So that might be something that happens a bit in the future. So far, just cutting all these pieces, it's gone pretty well. I have made, just piles of mistakes here as I learn my way through CNCing. I've snapped off one of my little 1/8 inch bits because I started the program with the router in its off position, and if the router's turned off, the gantry's going to move anyway, and it's going to push that bit into the wood. That always hurts when you watch a $20 bit just snap in half. You're like, oh man, well, I guess I'm getting another one of those. Before I had all these clamps done, I was having some trouble with boards slipping while I was in cuts, but now that I have a lot of clamps, and once I get the rest of the knobs made, that should become a thing of the past. The one thing you do learn is you have to be clamped down really, really well, make sure nothing can move, especially when you're doing through cutting. These the upcut spiral bits will have a tendency to lift boards, and that means that they can actually lift and pull out from under a clamp if you're not put down really well. It's nice to have clamps like this where when it actually goes onto the board, it has a little bit of a lip, so it's actually it's keeping the board from sliding towards it and lifting up at the same time. So it's a nice little design. I'm glad I made a bunch of these. You do want dust collection. These things will create a ton of dust, so make sure that you have your hosing you can connect up and have your dust shoe on. Especially when you're doing things like machining off MDF. Oh, this stuff is terribly dusty. So definitely make sure you have dust collection, hook it up to that. I just have this. It's a shop vac through a Oneida Dust Deputy. Seems to work pretty well. The only problem I have is I need to get a better way to have the dust collection coming in right from the top. It tends to, after a while, it'll start to pull the hose right off the tube. That's just another minor piece, possibly build something that comes out over top of mine where I can hang the tube off of that. So yeah, this was something else that I worked on. It was one of the octagonal cipher wheel designs that I have, and I wanted to work out a slightly new design for it. What I tried doing with this was to do all the carving around it, then hit it with black spray paint, and then sand off the surface so that all that would be left is the paint that's down in the letters. What I found was, now this is just MDF, so it will tend to sand off fast, but I had the unfortunate problem of sanding right through in spots, so I might want to take my letters and make them a little bit deeper next time so that I get a deeper well for the paint to go in. And I might try some other works with paint masking or dropping some shellac on the surface before it's carved, so that way I'm carving through the shellac. Then I can fill the letters and then sand back off on the shellac. But this will be a new design I'm working on with some numbers on it for doing numerical shifts on the ciphers. So certainly something you can watch for that's coming in the future. So this is just a quick update, some new machines. hopefully some more time coming up to work, and I've been working on drawing some puzzle boxes in the evening when I find a bit of time too. So I really hope I can get going on those. And, if I can think of it, coming up with some more instructional pieces as well, possibly using CNC and the rest of the tools in the shop. So don't ever think I'm just going to be a CNC guy. I've still got a big table saw and a jointer and planer and drill press and jigsaw. Everything goes together when I work. So I hope you enjoyed this rambling but hopefully thorough little review of what's been happening. And I look forward to giving you some more. Bye.